Whispers in the woods, the cool morning mist still clung to the ancient cedars, their branches heavy with dew. As Riku Hoshino walked the winding mountain path, his Nichiren blade, sheathed at his hip, felt heavier than he'd ever imagined, a stark reminder of the grueling training and the vow he'd made. Ahead of him, Aika, her small form hunched slightly, moved with an unnerving grace, her bamboo muzzle a stark contrast to the quiet beauty of the forest. The air was crisp, carrying the scent of pine and damp earth, a serenity that felt almost sacrilegious given the darkness he now hunted. A sudden, sharp tug on the rope connecting them broke Riku from his thoughts. Aika had stopped, her head cocked, long black hair obscuring her face save for one vivid red eye that peered intently into the dense undergrowth. A low growl rumbled in her throat, a sound Riku had come to recognize as a warning. "What is it, Aika?" he whispered, his hand instinctively going to his blade. The tranquil forest suddenly felt hostile, every rustle of leaves a potential threat. Aika let out another guttural sound, pointing a clawed finger towards a cluster of gnarled roots and moss-covered stones. Riku strained his senses, the techniques Master Kiyoshi had drilled into him kicking in. He focused on his breathing, slowing it, deepening it, allowing the air to fill his lungs with a steady rhythm. There it was, a faint, sickly sweet scent, cloying and unnatural, like decaying meat mixed with something metallic. A demon. His heart hammered against his ribs. This wasn't a training dummy. This wasn't a supervised spar. This was real. His first solo mission. And his first independent encounter with a Nightborn. A cold knot of fear tightened in his stomach. But beneath it, a burning resolve flickered. He thought of his family, of the horror that had befallen them, of the countless others who suffered. He had to be strong. For Aika. For everyone. "Stay close, Aika," he murmured, unsheathing his Nichiren blade. The dark steel gleamed faintly, reflecting the muted light filtering through the canopy. He moved cautiously, stepping over fallen logs, his eyes scanning every shadow. A grotesque snarl ripped through the air, and from behind a thicket of ferns, a creature lunged. It was roughly man-shaped, but twisted, its skin a sickly gray, mottled with dark purple veins. Its eyes glowed with malevolent hunger, and razor-sharp claws extended from its elongated fingers. It reeked of blood and malice. "You smell delicious, little morsel," it hissed, its voice a rasping whisper that sent shivers down Riku's spine. Riku reacted on instinct. He ducked under a sweeping claw, the wind of its passage ruffling his hair. He brought his blade up, aiming for the neck. But the demon was surprisingly swift, twisting its body away. The blade only grazed its shoulder, and a thin wisp of smoke rose, and the wound healed almost instantly. Damn it, Riku thought, Master Kiyoshi's lessons echoing in his mind. Faster, Riku. Focus. Breath of water. First form. Water surface slice. He roared, channeling his breath, his movements flowing like a river. He spun, his blade a shimmering arc, aiming for the demon's neck again. This time he connected. The blade cut deeper, severing a chunk of flesh. But still not enough. The demon shrieked, a sound of fury and pain, and retaliated with a flurry of strikes. Riku parried, his blade clanging against hardened claws. He felt the force of the blows vibrate up his arms, his muscles burning. He was getting tired already. This demon was stronger than he'd anticipated. One of the demon's claws raked across his arm, tearing his Haori and leaving a shallow but stinging wound. He gritted his teeth, refusing to give in to the pain. Aika, from her vantage point, let out a frustrated growl, straining against her rope, her red eyes burning with a primal ferocity. Riku knew she wanted to help, but he couldn't allow it. This was his fight. Breath of water, second form. Water wheel. Riku pushed off a tree trunk, spinning his body into a vertical circle, his blade a deadly disc. He aimed for the demon's head, hoping to decapitate it. The demon snarled, its eyes widening as it saw the attack coming. It raised its arms to block. But Rika's momentum was too great. The blade bit deep, tearing through sinew and bone. But still, the head remained attached, albeit barely. The demon staggered back, clutching its mangled neck, its grotesque features contorted in rage and something akin to fear. You little brat." Rika didn't give it a chance to recover. He saw his opening. He took a deep, steadying breath, focusing all his energy, all his resolve. Breath of water, 10th form, constant flux. He launched himself forward, a continuous, flowing assault. His blade moved with the relentless power of a river, each strike building on the last, accelerating, intensifying. He struck the demon's arms, then its legs, wearing it down, forcing it to defend. Then finally, with a powerful horizontal sweep, he severed its head cleanly from its shoulders. The demon's body froze, then crumbled into dust, dissolving into the morning air as if it had never been there, leaving only the faint, acrid smell of decay. Riku stood panting, his blade still extended, the tip trembling slightly. His muscles screamed, his arm throbbed, and a wave of nausea washed over him. He had done it. He had killed a demon. The reality of it, the brutal finality, settled over him like a shroud. This was his life now. This was the cost of his vow. Aika nudged him gently, her soft growls a strange comfort. She pressed her head against his side, rubbing against his arm where the demon had scratched him. Riku reached out, stroking her hair, a silent promise passing between them. He resheathed his blade, his hands still shaking slightly. He took another deep breath, trying to steady himself. He had to be stronger, much stronger. As they resumed their journey, Riku's senses, heightened by the recent battle, picked up something else. Aika had stopped again, her head raised, sniffing the air with an urgency that surpassed her earlier warning. This time, she didn't point to a specific spot in the woods, but rather turned her entire body, her gaze fixed towards the distant mountains. A low, persistent hum seemed to vibrate in the air around them, a sensation Riku recognized as the presence of a demon. But this was different, stronger, more pervasive. Aika let out a series of short, urgent barks, tugging on the rope, pulling Riku off the main path, deeper into a less traveled route. Riku hesitated for a moment, then followed. Aika's senses were rarely wrong, and the intensity of her reaction told him this wasn't just another stray Nightborn. They walked for what felt like hours, the forest growing denser, the air heavier. The hum grew, a faint but steady pulse of malice. As they emerged from the treeline, Riku saw it, a small, quiet village nestled in a valley, smoke curling lazily from a few hearths. It looked peaceful, idyllic. But Aika's agitation was undeniable. As they drew closer, the peaceful facade began to crack. The usual sounds of a village, children playing, merchants calling, the clatter of daily life were absent. An unnerving silence hung in the air. A few doors stood ajar, flapping gently in the breeze. A cart lay overturned near the well, its contents spilled onto the dusty road. A faint, lingering scent of that familiar sickly sweetness, though diluted, permeated the air. Rika's blood ran cold. This wasn't just a demon passing through. This was a tragedy unfolding. His eyes scanned the deserted street, his hand once again on his Nichiren blade. "Aika," he whispered, his voice grim. "We've found it." The village of Kasumi was silent, waiting, and Riku knew with a chilling certainty that it was waiting for him.